WildGamesProductions.com and D20Radio.com.
Between the time when wargamers played with chainmail and the rise of the wizards of the coast, there was an age of gamers. And unto this, Gygax, destined to bear the crown jewel of TSR upon a troubled brow, to show you all how to roll for initiative.
The Roll for Initiative podcast, volume number 2, issue 94. I am DM Finn, sitting alongside DM Matt.
How's it going, everyone?
DM Nick.
Hi, everybody.
Master Sarge Will.
What's up?
And sitting in with us is a special guest host, of Greg from the Unseen Servant Forums. How you doing, Greg?
Doing well, thanks, guys.
Good. We're back with this show, and as you said, we have Greg sitting in as a special guest. He'll be a special DM. So we're going to jump right into some Greg goodness. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your gaming history for the audience out there?
Well, my history goes back to the early 80s. I started playing basic D&D with the Holmes book. A friend of mine introduced that to me in elementary school. I quickly moved into the AD&D hardback books and played first edition for quite a while there. As I said earlier, I'm a D&D purist. I've not played many other role-playing games. I did play Champions a little bit, but didn't do it for me. I went back to D&D. And I got out of it for a while, and then I got back into it maybe in 2006. Said, oh yeah, I remember that cool stuff I used to do, and I got out my old books, and I've been playing first and a little bit of second edition ever since.
Cool.
Great. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned how you started. It's almost like how I got started into D&D as well. It's like, somebody at school, they got these really cool books about monsters and fighting them and getting their treasure, and I see that a lot on other forums. It's a very similar story that everybody has. It's just cool that we have this kind of collective start for everybody in this game. It just seems pretty common. I know it was for me, and I quickly moved the first edition AD&D too.
Right.
It's really cool, just like how a lot of people start that way.
Yeah, I saw that Holmes book, and I was just enamored. I couldn't get enough of it. The monsters, the pictures especially. I mean, I think we can all agree we love the first edition, old school black and white drawings, just captivating. They say so much. And I was drawn into it, and I just went headlong into it for the next few years of my life. It was great. It was a good thing to do when you're 10, 11, 12 years old. Oh,
yeah. I just remember it's like something just kind of clicks. It just hits you. It's like, wow. It just blows your mind. It just, it never lets go.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first edition, the superior edition, as I like to call it, Superior. Anyway. Basically, Greg's here to talk a little about his website. In the 90s, we had our BBSs, and we had our play-by emails, and then we started doing our play-by posts as forums became more popular.
Wait. BBS in the 90s?
Yeah, I was in the BBS in the 90s, Bulletin Board Service.
I was BBSing in the 90s, too.
Well, I must be crazy. I know I was doing BBSs in the 80s.
Oh, yeah, they existed in the 80s, too. They started in the 80s, and they actually went through to the late 90s, and even in the early 2000s, you could still find a BBS.
All right.
Oh, wow.
Its popularity was in the 90s, is what I was trying to get across. And then we got, where was I? Play-by-post forums. Will, you really screwed me up.
I'm sorry.
And then we got the invention of Skype along, I don't know, Matt, the invention of Skype early 2000?
No, it's more like mid-2000s.
Which kind of killed play-by-post and play-by-email entirely, but I noticed within the last couple of years, play-by-post has been really coming back a lot. And Greg here has opened his own forums, Unseen Servant .us. Yeah, .us. I'm looking at the forums here.
Yep.
And why don't you tell us a little bit about these forums and the features that I thought were really cool about the dice roller and everything?
Well, when I came back into it in the mid-2000s, I thought, this play-by-post thing is kind of cool. It is as we know it's a slow way to play, but if you've got time in the day to check your computer a couple times, you can catch up with what's going on in the game. And so I thought, well, I know how to do this stuff. It's kind of what I do for a living, is build websites and so on. And so I thought I'll set up this forum and see if I can get some people to come and start some play-by-post games, and then maybe even do a little old school D&D conversation. And it took a little time, but we finally got rolling, and now we've got like 13 or 14 active games. And along with it, I built this digital dice roller. There are many on the internet, but there's only a few that store your dice rolls in a database for reviewing later. And I thought that was kind of a cool feature, and I sort of banged it out in the course of a weekend or two, and I thought, well, this would go good with the forums, and maybe the two could work well together. And that's kind of where we're at. The dice roller, I built it a little differently than others. Try to make it as easy as you can. You can save rolls that you do regularly, such as an initiative, a D20 saving throw, or a 2-hit with your favorite weapon. And then if you want to roll the dice again, you just come back in, click the button, bam, you've rolled that dice or that combination of dice. You can post it to your post in the forum, and you've done what you need to do for that day on your online game. So that's the basics of it, and so far it's gotten pretty good feedback. We've got a good community going, and it's a fun place to hang out.
I was told that you, because let's see, R. Redmond was the one that brought this to my attention. He told me that the dice roll was attached to the character sheet as well. Oh
yeah. There's a feature that I built as a character sheet that can be embedded into a forum post. So as you know, on play-by-post forums, usually there's a thread that outlines everybody's PC. And every time you look at one, the format of the character sheet is a little different. Sometimes it's kind of hard to find what you're looking for. So I built this character sheet that makes everybody look kind of the same. You can go to it, refer to it, and you know where all your data is. Not everybody on the forums uses it, and that's okay. But a good amount of people do, and I'm actually hoping I can update it, keep it. Maybe you can upload a picture or something like that. I'd like to do something like that. But right now, it's kind of the character sheet is kind of a beta version. Okay, and is this just open to D&D games? Can I bring like a White Wolf game in, or maybe a Margaret Weiss game to play, or is it just strictly D&D? I welcome anybody as long as you're playing role-playing games. What it's turned out to be is primarily old school D&D. We did have someone started a Western themed role playing game. I forget what it was called.
Aces and Eights, maybe?
That was it. That was it. Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Oh.
And that game sort of fizzled out, unfortunately.
Yeah, the Aces and Eights system just won't work really well in a play-by-post because there's too much of an actual targeting system you have where you're laying a transparency over a silhouette for the combat. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that. So it didn't work so well. It kind of fizzled out, unfortunately. And there was a couple. There's one current game I think that's like a D20 thing. I don't know if it's necessarily 3rd or 4th edition, but it's just sort of a generic D20 fantasy game. But like I said, anybody can bring any kind of game as long as it's a role-playing game, and it fits the play-by-post thing. So I welcome any addition, as long as you're cool and can maybe participate in the conversation a little bit too, and have fun. That's all. I just want people to have fun. Looks like a good place. I don't have to open up my own little forum in there to do my own play-by-play here, because it looks kind of cool. Yeah. Oh, and that's another thing I'd like to add. If anybody does want to go to the site and likes what they see, wants to start a campaign, you can just send. There's information at the top how to do it. Send me a PM, and I can get you set up in 10 minutes. Usually, I'm at my computer a lot because I work from home. And later that day, you'll have a campaign, and you can start posting, start recruiting people, and anybody who wants to do it, just come right in, go right ahead.
That's good. I'm looking at the forums right now. You introduce yourself. You look at the players and games. Now, what are you going to do looking at the future when you get like so many games going straight down? You got to start subgrouping them, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. It so far it hasn't gotten out of control so much so. But I mean, the forums can accommodate many games. It might come to where the list gets long and sort of have to find which game you're looking for. I don't know what's the best way to go in that. We'll jump that hurdle when we get there, I guess.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, if you want to join these forums or join the air, you can just go to unseenservant.us. Matt will throw the link in the forums for that, and the dice roller, which is unseenservant.com, actually, for the dice roller I'm looking at.
Yeah, that's correct.
I guess it needed its own server, maybe, because it's its own program, probably.
Yeah, it needed a different server platform than the forums, and one is a PHP and one is a different kind of server platform. So I thought to separate them like that keeps it a little easier.
While I have my own forum with my own play-by-play, I'd rather come here because it has this really cool dice thing. So
you could use the dice roller in any other forum as well. You don't necessarily have to use it in relation to my forums. You can really use it anywhere you need to.
Shh, don't tell me. No, I'm kidding. Matt, edit that out. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, cool. All right, so if you want to go to unseenservant.us/forum, and you can join up in the fun. Open up your play-by-play post game now.
So I have a question. So all of y'all do that?
I used to do it a lot.
Matt and Nick, do y'all do this stuff?
I
Play-by-post?
tested a certain edition of D&D via play-by-post.
Oh, okay.
But
I've never
that's the only
done
time I've ever
play-by-post.
done it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had my own play-by-email PBEM for the longest time. I was voted second best on Yahoo for horror games. So in 2000.
Nice.
That's impressive. Yeah, see, I never ever did it, never dealt in it, never dabbled in it whatsoever.
It's a very slow format, but it's fun. It can be a lot of fun. If you
It is
like writing.
It is slow, but it is fun. That's for sure.
I do know that on deployments that a lot of military guys were doing it while I was over there in Afghanistan and Iraq. I know they were doing it there.
Yeah, it's the closest thing you can get sometimes to a game, so you might as well take what you can get sometimes.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, cool.
We have some guys on the forums who are in 6 and 7 separate games.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do it, but they do it, have fun, and I can only handle 2 at a time or so. But a lot of people are enjoying it, so that's good. That's what I wanted.
Nick, you have any questions or?
Oh no, I haven't done a play-by-post. I was just thinking about when you were first talking about it's when I was earlier this week. I was going through my old issues of Dragon magazine. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I remember the stuff about play-by-mail. You want to talk about slow?
Wow!
Yeah. Oh my God! Remember play-by-mail?
Yep.
Stamps are only like 20 cents.
Yeah, I remember
the game Duel Masters.
Yep.
Yep.
I remember the Hyborian War play-by-mail.
Hyborian War 2, yeah.
I did the wrestling one by mail.
Oh, the one it's up in somewhere in northern Ohio. But,
it was in Dragon magazine. I saw it.
Yeah, they were also advertising like Pro Wrestling Illustrated. They actually are still going on.
Really?
Yes, is that IWA? Wow. They actually still are in business.
You had to pay like $1 back then to play.
It was $1 per match.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a wrestling game?
Yeah.
It was all automated.
Wrestling play-by-mail or play-by-post?
Play-by-mail. You created your wrestler and basically picked your moveset for your opponent. And your opponent would also pick a moveset, and they had some computer program that they punched in your moves, and it spat out the results. And you actually played for, like, title belts and whatnot.
Could you imagine how much shipping and handling I would do if I had to do King Kong Bundy? At 500 pounds?
Hopefully you can get a large enough flat rate box to cram him in.
You don't literally can't King Kong box spell and tell him wrestling moves and say goodbye.
I think he was joking.
Sorry, we
I
all
was.
we all know you're a Hogan lover, so you know.
Who, me? No. King Kong Bundy all the way.
Brother. Anyway.
And Joe LeDuc, if you remember him.
I've know Joe LeDuc, yep.
I know. All right, cool. So let's head into something we haven't done in a while. Nick brought it up as a good, fun, feel-good part of the show. Nick, stars.
Okay, yeah, I got some reviews from iTunes here. We're actually up to 133 reviews, still averaging 5 stars. And our most recent one came in on the 19th from Dungeon Tunis Jeff. And Dungeon Tunis Jeff says the podcast rocks in unrocked before ways with 5 stars. And it starts, great googly moogly, what an outstanding podcast. I just love that, googly moogly. So Advanced Dungeons & Dragons First Edition deserves to be played and enjoyed, and I'm happy to have discovered that I'm not alone in my dedication to what I believe is the greatest role-playing game ever created. Don't be modest, yeah. Dedication and enthusiasm of the hosts is appreciated from the beginning of the episodes, and while their techniques may sometimes differ, it is abundantly clear that their camaraderie and enthusiasm for the game is their primary focus. I very much hope that anyone who's been disheartened by limitations and lack of creative freedom in other role-playing games give this a listen. Yeah. If you're one of those DMs like myself who remembers how to color your dice with wax crayons, and by the way, oil pastels work wonderfully for that if you happen to have ugly dice, if you can recall the thrill of exercising your imagination without the complicated restraints of goofy flavor text of later iterations, I think you may find something here. As for me, thanks, guys. You've got me writing and drawing again. Probably the most inspirational thing to occur to me in years. Excellent work. Well, thank you, Dungeon Tunis Jeff. We're glad that we can inspire people like you to get back into things. So that's awesome.
Thank you, definitely.
Yep,
Great
that's all
stuff.
that matters. That's all that matters.
Dungeon. I'd like to see some of his drawings. He sounds like he's a Dungeon Tuner. It sounds like he's going to be a professional drawer or something.
Yeah, you must do some cartooning, some artwork. Yeah, hey, Dungeon Tunis Jeff, drop us a line on our forums at OSR Gaming, and log in over there. And if you got a website or a blog or something, we'd love to see some of your work. It'd be really cool.
Definitely, and the forums are jumping. Nick is posting more now, so
yeah, I actually posted a topic.
I know, amazing.
I know, it's crazy. I know that, but the world must be coming to an end if I posted a topic.
I know, and we can't get him to shut up. He posts constantly. No, I'm kidding.
I heard that.
Yeah. Oh,
really? I hope so. You're on the show. I hope you heard something there. Yeah, I posted a topic there about the Fiend Folio. So
yeah, that was good. I love the Fiend Folio.
Me too.
Will, you were recently at Gamerati Day?
Yes, I was. I was there yesterday. That was Saturday in Tacoma at the AmVets post number, and I can't remember for the life of me, so please forgive me. All those veterans out there, I forgot what it is. I might be a member there. They hosted the event there, and I'll tell you, it was a very nice venue. Ed Healy was out there. He talked about us and everything, and I think he's the one that hosts these Gamerati Days or whatever. You know about that, Vince?
Yeah, Ed Healy is Gamerati, yeah.
Yeah, and while I was there, I was doing Flames of War. I was doing a Call to War, a Star Trek, and I know I did another. Oh, I was doing the BattleTech stuff, and I'll post all those pictures later. But while I was there doing the Flames of War, a gentleman came and says, "Hey, I know your voice from somewhere. I really don't know the guy and everything." And he says, "Your voice sounds familiar." And he says, "Do you do a podcast?" And I said, "I certainly do." And he says, "Are you DM Will?" And I said, "Yes, I am." He says, "Yes, you guys rock and everything." And then he ran back to this other table and brought these 3 other guys over, these gentlemen over, and they was talking about how well they love the show and everything. They all play first edition, but they was there for a Pathfinder event, so nothing on Pathfinder, but they love first edition. They listen to our show religiously, and I just wanted to make sure I do a shout out to those guys. And thank you for all the nice and kind comments they said to me yesterday.
Awesome. Thanks for
We have a fan base.
Yes, we do have a fan base.
Oh my God.
Something definitely Joe, Nick. So we don't
What?
just do you. Anyway. Let's go to, I guess that's it. Anything else? Matt, what have you been up to?
Not a lot, really. Unfortunately, my weekly gaming session has we are off for like 3 weeks in a row, so that's kind of sad. And then I used Then the weekly HeroClix I was playing at Yada Quest is no more. So, yeah, my life has kind of been lacking in the gaming, unfortunately. I mean, a couple weeks ago, we started my first edition Ravenloft campaign. We created characters. So, got a party of 5 with... we rolled the professions out of the DMG, and we created a backstory linking everyone together using those professions. There were a bunch of miners, and we have one sailor. So we're like, okay, they all are from this mountainous area, and they would load stuff up and have it shipped off, and that's how they all know each other. So we did that, and we had them travel to the city of Briarwood, which is from the city-state of the Invincible Overlord. It's just a little reintroduction to First Edition, since it's been years since any of them have played it. And let's just say if they weren't going to Ravenloft, they would be going to Ravenloft after what they did to 6 goblins. They killed 3 of them rather easily. Then told the rest, surrender or we'll kill you. They bound them. And then it said, take us, where's your lair? We want to see your lair. And the last one to respond to them, they killed. Then they took them to the lair. The goblins led them there. And they got the lair, and they saw that the goblins really didn't have anything. They just had some, like, pots and bedrolls and stuff, and the goblins are, like, gathering it up. Here, this is all we have. So they killed the goblins for not having enough loot. Threw their bodies in the little shack that was their home.
The alignment slowly started to shift to evil.
Yes, and they then killed the goblins, threw them in the little shack, and lit it on fire.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Obviously, there was no paladin in the party.
No, there is a cleric, which, never ask a player, so what god do you want, without actually laying some guidelines down for what they can pick. Because I now have a cleric of the flying spaghetti monster.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, which, so I've been reading up on the Pastafarian movement.
Rastafarian?
Yes, the Pastafarians. That's
Pastafarian. Okay.
Pastafarians.
Is it Rastafarian?
No. Which, if you didn't know, they actually hold pirates in the highest of esteem, so that's going to play into the story at this point. I'm like, so pirates are considered the holiest of holy according to the Pastafarians, because in current-day Pastafarian, the amount of pirates is directly proportional to global warming. More pirates, less global warming. Less pirates, more global warming. So pirates are therefore good.
Okay, then.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
But anyway. Yeah, so that's where we left off our little intro to First Edition. So they arrived at the gates of Briarwood, and we're going to pick up in a couple weeks there. But yeah, I'm just like, you slaughtered these helpless goblins. I actually felt bad for them.
Wow.
That's so, yeah. I'm like, yeah, they'll be tormented by goblins in Ravenloft at this point.
Everything's better with pirates.
Yes.
Anyway, thanks.
Yeah.
I'll be starting a 1E game finally in person, face to face, next Saturday here in the great city of Denton, in the state of Texas, which is trying to secede from the United States as we speak. But anyway, so yeah, I can't wait to start playing that game. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Sounds fun.
Found a DM, so I don't have to DM. I get to actually play.
Wow.
Kind of excited about that. Yeah.
Cool.
And
I started. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Game with the kids. That's right. How'd that go?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that went great. Yeah, that was last Saturday, and we actually had 4 people here at the show. Other kids, their parents had other commitments. Whatever. But they did fantastic. I was really, really impressed with these kids because they're all 11, 12, 13 years old. And I figured, that's about the age when I started playing. We got some great characters. We have a half-elf ranger cleric, a half-elf fighter magic user. We have a human ranger and a gnome illusionist thief right now. So quite a bit interesting mix right now so far. And we started off we're doing Temple of Elemental Evil. And these guys, I was very impressed what they did. They got to the Moat House in the first session.
Wow.
And and I'll post all this out. I'm going to get one more session in actually this coming week. We're going to play again, and then we're going to have more people come in. And but how they handled the Moat House, I thought was very ingenious, and they at least got the first level, where those bandits are. They got those cleared out. They just got to go inside now. But they've pulled off a really smart, ingenious way how to get to flush the bandits out. And it'll be in my post. You'll probably see that. I might post it this week, or after I get the second session done, I'll write it up. But I already got like 3 great pages written up from the first adventure part of the adventure, and they're just having a blast. It's been great. It's so much fun.
Really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It is great.
Matt, see what you started now. I got to tell the audience now because we're laughing too much in the background.
Yeah.
Ever since you said the pirates, I put pasta pirates, and Will has gone on a tirade. Saying,
Well, now I was just thinking now, it's like you have a cleric who worships the big spaghetti god or whatever. Instead of create food and water, what you do, create marinara?
yeah. The ship is called the pepperoni pasta. The sea is made of pasta sauce. It snows Parmesan cheese. The anchovies are the size of whales. Meatball, cannonballs, and what's the last one here? Krakens and giant octopus have spaghetti arms. There.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. And that sword of Griswold from a few weeks ago, if you're a pastafarian, it actually shoots spaghetti sauce.
Nice.
Oh, my goodness. I can't believe we went back to that again. The Griswold sword.
You have to get in your station wagon and drive to go find it. So
The best part of that movie is when that cat got fried underneath that chair.
yeah.
That was awesome.
All right. Anyone have any things left? No, that's probably
No.
it. Sage advice coming your way.
Sage advice.
Okay, Sage advice this week. We have a couple emails here. That's rfistaff@gmail.com or 570-865-4210, the hotline. The first email is a very long email from Ivan, and it's really cool, but I'm not going to read the whole entire thing because you guys will fall asleep because I don't read like a normal person. But anyway, he started playing D&D back in the day. He played First Edition, stopped playing for whatever reason, and then him and his cousins came up with a game called The Game, which was pretty much a bastardized version of a pen and paper game they came up with, borrowing things from various games. He became very fond of it, and then he stuffed it away for a while, and then he hadn't played in a while. Then he got married, tried to get his wife involved. They wanted playing Pathfinder. They went to the group, and pretty much he was really bored, and his wife's experience was really bad, and they wound up spending 12 hours and $100 in babysitter money just to find out they didn't like the game.
Oh.
At one point in the game, he said that it was so boring that he threatened to murder an NPC if she didn't give us any information, and the whole group looked at him like he was crazy. But this is after 8 hours of nothing happening. I guess the DM style of gaming wasn't their style of playing, and it wasn't good for a new person. So he came home and went up to his attic and I guess pulled out his big box of games and found the game. And he couldn't remember how to play it. So then he found, after looking on the internet for a while, he found Osric, and then he found our podcast. So he's been reading the book and enjoying our podcast. And he said one of the old podcasts we had mentioned, remember, Nick, send in your magic items way back.
Oh, yeah, we did mention that if you had some homemade magic items in your games, send in the stats and everything, yeah.
He made up the Hammer of Fracturing as a medium-sized warhammer. Its handle is simple and made of polished oak. The head of the hammer is an unadorned piece of deep black onyx with a high mirror finish. The round face of the hammer head is an ever so small crack on the otherwise perfect-shaped hammer. When swung in combat, it acts like a +2 warhammer. Upon striking its victim, you roll 1d100. On a d100, on the 100, a victim's bones and all his possessions, including his armor and weapons, shatter to pieces, leaving a crumpled heap with 1 hit point. Rolling 99 to 90, or should I say 90 to 99, he's kind of doing it backwards. The victim's weapon, shield, if equipped, and armor shatter a roll of 80 to 89, the victim's weapon and armor shatter. On 70 to 79, the victim's weapon shatters. On 50 to 69, the victim's armor shatters. And on 2 to 49, the hammer has no additional effect. But on a roll of 1, the hammer itself shatters, also causing the armor of both its wielder and the victim to shatter. In addition, the razor-sharp fragments of the onyx explode into a 20-foot radius, causing all creatures in the area 2d12 points of damage.
Ah!
Whoa.
Wow.
So
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
That's cool.
He says, listening to your show makes me appreciate the idea of an uncertain game world. Here is a weapon that can be used with a devastating effect in combat, but also holds a chance to become a big disaster for its wielder. Plus, who doesn't like rolling dice to find out if you win big or lose big? Very much enjoys the podcast. Thanks you very much. And his name is Ivan. That was email 1. Comments?
That's cool. I like that hammer. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I like it too. That seems like it would be a lot of fun.
Well, I'm not using no magical items in his game.
Yeah, right.
It would be just regular common items. If they're magical, you can have them.
I just like the idea that, you know what, I guess he was going with the premise that, you know, hey, sometimes, you know, you get a magical item, it has pluses, there's benefits, and there could be something detrimental too.
Maybe this week is maybe a minor artifact, I think.
It almost sounds like one, yeah, in a way.
I don't know. Cool, thanks. Send us some more magical items if you have them. Okay, second email is actually a 3-part question email. It's very short, but he really wants to know some kind of things about the game. It's from Richard J. We'll do each part by one, and we'll go around and see what everyone thinks. One of the most salient issues I take with AD&D now that I have the reprints is that they actually have ability score caps on female PCs. I consider that kind of offensive, and I believe women in my group would find that alienating. Would you consider this to be a problematic for a social justice perspective, or is there a value in being more realistic? We'll start with Nick. What do you think about that?
Well, what I think? Really?
Yeah, honestly, what do you think?
Realistically, there are physical differences between men and women besides the obvious, but one of them is strength.
Mm-hmm.
For example, there are strength limits, even in the real world, for women to men, and that's just how it is, and the game reflects that. And there's nothing sexist about that at all. That's just the truth.
Now, do you think that's alienating from women who are trying to play D&D?
No, not at all.
Not offensive to them at all?
I would think so. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Just your opinion? We're not gonna get.
I wouldn't think so because it's just a realistic way of looking at things.
Okay, cool. Let's jump over to your guest, Greg. What do you think, Greg?
Well, I'm kind of going to go with Nick on this. It does make sense. Off the top of my head, I don't remember what the limitations are, like how much limiting it is.
I think a maximum female strength human is 17.
Okay, that's
I think it is.
Yeah, the cap is 17 for strength.
okay. That's not that bad. I mean, okay, so you can't get 18. They can't get a percentile strength. All right, if they made it like 15, maybe that's a little too low.
It's on the race, too, don't forget.
Oh, yeah. But, you know, we have seen some of those freakish female bodybuilders. You never know what their strength ratings might be, but I do think it is kind of rare. So I'm going to go with Nick, and I think it's not a sexist thing. It is just sort of a fact. Women are built differently.
Well, how do you... What about Red Sonja? What about her? I mean, she was an exceptional person. Wouldn't you think?
I would say she probably had a 17 strength.
Let's see. Okay, maximum strength possible for a female halfling character is 14. 15 for a gnome.
Yeah.
16 for a female elf. 17 for a female dwarf or a half elf. And actually doesn't have a regular female human cap.
Oh,
Really?
Okay.
No,
I thought it was 17 for some
Yeah,
reason.
because I thought there was like a 1-point spread for all the races.
No. Maximum strength possible for all non-fighter characters is 18. Maximum strength possible for female human or male is 18/50. Is the highest you can go.
Well, there you go. I
Yeah.
don't see the problem then at all.
Male strength for elf can go up to 5175. Female half orc, that same thing. Male half elf can go up to 90, and the rest go to 99. And human can actually get to slash 1800, and that's the only one that can get it.
I don't see the problem then at all.
Well, all right.
It's even more so than what I thought. So guess what? I really don't see any problems with it, quite frankly.
Okay, cool. That's your opinion. Matt, what do you think?
I don't really have a problem with it either. I mean, it's a slight difference between males and females, which is, if you look into like the weightlifting records and all of that, there is a difference. You can just look at the Olympics and compare the times. Due to testosterone, when it comes to feats of strength, the male body is naturally more likely to be able to lift more. When it comes to things of flexibility and things of that nature, the female body's actually better suited. I've seen MMA fights involving females where like the Ronda Rousey Misha Tate fight, where Ronda Rousey put Misha Tate in an armbar, and take your arm, extend it straight out. So we'll just call that 0. Mm-hmm. Misha Tate's arm, when in this armbar, was probably about negative 20, 25 degrees. And she didn't have her arm broken.
Oh, wow.
Due to the flexibility. And I actually have a friend who will do that with her own elbow. And I'm like, oh my God, that hurts so bad. And she's like, no, that's perfectly fine. The female body is more flexible than the male body.
That's just not human. That's freakish.
Yeah. But
that's circus material.
Yeah, you can find the Misha Tate Ronda Rousey fight on YouTube and just go to the end, and everyone I've shown that fight to just screams in pain when they see Misha's elbow. But
you're with it then, okay.
Yeah.
Before we go to Will and his soapbox, I'm kidding, Will. I would say this: while that's the game for a reason, you're the DM. If someone's going to give you a problem about it, just waive the rule. Is what I say.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
You're the DM, so what a big deal. So what? A half-elf female has a higher strength than what it says in the book. Woo!
Right. Yeah, you have to remember, everything in the book's a guideline, not written in stone. So do what's best for your game.
Yep.
Yeah, if they're gonna complain that much, instead of having this person complain, just say, "Don't worry about it."
Right.
No, it's not gonna break the wall. It's like putting Coke and Pepsi together and explode or something.
Oh, don't do that! No.
Cthulhu is gonna come out or something. I don't know.
No.
Will, what do you think about all this?
Well, honestly, I agree with the majority of what you all state. However, I will state this, though. D&D is not a reflection of what goes on in real life.
Right.
With that said, there's no reason why females can't have a higher strength at 18 using certain magical items, in that case right there, where they can have a higher strength. That's why you have belts and girdles and potions of giant strength and what have you. Let's be realistic about this whole thing. I hope the other questions don't have to do with racial things, with races and everything, but that's a whole new tangent and everything. Males and females have different physiologies. We know that. D&D doesn't have to be like that. I play by the book. I play by the rule. The rule states this. That's what I live by. It's not a sexist thing. It's not a anything. It's just I play by the rules, and I don't go past that. If someone chooses to look past that rule and say, well, this is a sexist thing, they don't need to be playing a role-playing game.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but I agree with you, Will. I mean, I think that goes for both men and women characters. If there's a magical enhancement to an ability score, it doesn't matter what gender you are. It's a magical enhancement. It's going beyond your natural abilities. So, in that respect, yeah, if a female character finds, a girdle of fire giant strength, yeah, she's going to have fire giant strength. Absolutely.
I mean, stay away from her. Put her in the Olympics.
I mean, that's what I mean. I think what we're talking about is just like when you first make your character and your natural ability scores, how they lay out. Yeah. When it comes to when they're magically enhanced by certain items or potions, what have you, yeah, that's a different story. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what gender.
Okay, his second question. On a semi-related note, I noticed, and you guys are going to groan over this one, I noticed that non-human PCs have level limit caps. What can non-human PCs do when they hit that level cap, and that will help them continue to contribute to the success of the group once the human PCs have surpassed it? What is the function of the level caps, and if I play without them, could it break the game? I'll have to say that, my normal rule is just waive it if it's going to be that much of a problem, but it's in there for a reason.
Right.
One Edition is a human-centric game, and that was to make the humans more, how did Gary put it, more enticing to play.
Right.
Yes.
Right, because if you think about it, with the life expectancy of the demi-human races and how much longer they live than humans, you would have 40, 50th level elves, dwarves, gnomes, whatever, just roaming everywhere if there were not level caps.
That's a very good point.
So at that point, you kind of have to have them there for a game balance. Now, if you wanted to remove them, yeah, I don't see a problem with that, removing them for your PCs, because you're probably not going to be playing long enough to get to level 30, 40, 50 with your demi-humans.
I'll stop at 9 anyway.
Right.
Yeah, I think most people stop around 9 to 12 anyway. Yeah, so.
Right. But it's there just as a reason to explain why there aren't 30th level elves everywhere if they're living 1,000 years. So.
Exactly. Will?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the same thing. And, I was afraid we're talking about level limits, and that's what I'm going to stick with for the time being, unless he says another question that brings up that one article concerning the racial issues with D&D as a whole. But no. I play by the rules. I do have level limits. Level limits go up in Unearthed Arcana. So use that to supplement your game, to give them extra 2, 3, 4, 5 levels based on their natural ability scores, not those that are enhanced by magical items. But no, it's a human-centric game, plain and simple. It's no different than Chivalry and Sorcery. It's no different than Harnmaster. All those games, those role-playing games, fantasy role-playing games, made playing non-humans extremely difficult to the point where you couldn't play them at all. So no, I agree with it. It's a human-centric game. And I think who mentioned the special abilities of the non-human races?
I think Matt did.
Was that? I think it was Matt.
Yeah.
I mean, dwarves. This is a prime example. 18 Constitution. That gives them a +5 versus poison. What else does it give them? A +5
versus
spell.
Spells and versus rod, staffs, and wands too, I believe.
I mean, give me a break. That's a big boost.
Yeah, huge.
It's huge. And let's not talk about all the other things that they get when they fight giants, for example, or all the other stuff. I mean, we can go down the whole list of all the special abilities that the other races get. I mean, elves are immune to paralyzation from ghouls and gas and those kind of things, and sleep spells and stuff. So, I mean, I think that makes up for the level differences. True, they might not live in a level 30 campaign, but good Lord, if they're that high, I don't want to be in that part of a campaign. And just to be honest with y'all, the highest I mean, we got to the G series, got to the D1 through 3, and Q1, and once they got to level 12, 13, and 14, that was it. We was done.
Yeah, people are done during levels.
Yeah,
that's it. I'm done. 15, I believe, is it. It's done.
Well, we had that one guy write in that said he got to level 200 something with his fighter and magic user.
He's got a big shovel.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Anyway, so what do you think, Greg, about that?
Well, I can't add much more because you guys have all made a lot of good points, especially what William just said about all the bonuses that non-human characters get. You need to offset that a little bit with level limitations. And then, Vince, of course, what you said, if someone doesn't like it, just break the rule. Let them go a few levels higher, or use the Unearthed Arcana rules. Yeah. It's okay. It's not going to break the game. And yeah, no one goes much beyond 12th, 15th level. And if you do, then it might become a problem, but it's probably not going to happen that often.
I feel this way. First edition is a great game. I love it to death. It's so hard to sometimes find players. And when you do find players, you're sitting at a table, you're most likely friends, or you're new people gathering up for the first time. And then you got someone who wants to be, let's say, a cleric, a dwarven cleric, and he's 8th level cap. And you've been playing with this guy for a while, and he's 8th level. Well, I want to go higher. Well, as a DM, you could say no or get out. Get out of my group. You don't want to do that. You lose a player. So, as a friend, you're probably going to say, all right, we'll just waive that. It's just best to just not have someone complain.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I just don't want the demi-humans to detract from playing humans. Humans' abilities just to go as far as they can. I think it's great, and you should remind players that, listen, if you decide to play an Elven Magic user, you're going to be limited in spells because this is the highest level. I'm going all the way to the honest they can now, which I don't have in front of me because I don't know how high they can go. It depends on their intelligence. But whatever the case may be is, now there's other alternatives to this where you can twist this around, and this is how you want to break the rule. Just do like they do the Cavaliers, Cavaliers and Paladins in them, where they have that alternate thing where their stats go up each level. With those demi-humans, for their primary stat, just use that rule as well. They roll the percentile dice after they go over level, and once it goes over 100, they add 1 point to their stat.
Yeah.
There's so many alternatives they can use to this, but don't let that be a game stopper.
You're definitely right. Don't let it be a game stopper.
Absolutely.
And I think that's pretty much it. The last one is not really a question. It's more just a kind
You didn't ask my opinion.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nick. I thought I did. Because you.
Well, it's very minuscule, so.
No, that's good. No, ditto. Just kidding. Actually, one little thing I could add to it. I agree with everybody else says, but one thing I guess you could do if you were to remove the racial limits, level limits for your demi-humans, that kind of, in a way, puts everything really in the balance of everybody wanting to play demi-humans. Well, the way you can kind of counterbalance that, if you're going to have no level limits, is have special abilities for humans.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I did was, like, for my Greyhawk campaign, I think I brought this up once before, was depending on what your the race that you are, either you're Backloonish, Flan, Iridian, or Sul, you might get a +1 to a ability score, and what country you might come from, you might get bonuses to particular weapons that you're, So that's one way you can kind of counterbalance that. You can also give maybe special racial bonuses for humans depending on their racial stock. So
I'm looking at the Unearthed Arcana right now. I'm surprised that with all the alternate rules that Gary came up with, he didn't, when he broke some of the rules, decide to give humans a little extra nudge or something.
Oh,
right.
Yes, he did. As a matter of fact, if I recall correctly, if you look at the very back of the book on the rolling up of characters, I believe that only applies to humans.
Oh, yeah, the die table?
That's correct.
Yes.
Like for Paladin, he gets eight six-siders for strength, but I don't think that applies to demi-humans. I might be incorrect,
for
though.
human characters, you're absolutely right. It's
There
like
you go. There
5
you go.
or 6 or something like that.
Yes.
And depending on what class that you have, you can have the roll up the 9 6-siders for a stat.
Yeah, I'm seeing here the special method used in the book.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, we did give him a little bit of a nudge bonus. Good.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't really use his book much, so I don't know these old.
I'm doing this from memory. I don't have none of my books in front of me.
Yeah. Anyway, and they did announce they were doing reprints of this book, by the way. The official announcement was out for that.
Yeah, I saw it's going to come out in February, right?
Yep.
Yep.
That'd be kind of cool. I'd love to see that and maybe a Fiend Folio afterwards.
Oh, I'd love to see Fiend Folio reprint. That would be great.
Yeah, that would be great.
Do you think they can?
Yeah.
I can't see why not.
A lot
It's our
of that
hobby.
was White Dwarf.
That's what I'm thinking. I don't know if they can or not. That might be an issue there later on. I don't know yet.
It depends on what the agreement was, who got to keep the intellectual property once.
Right.
Because all that was out of the UK branch.
That's right, and that could be an issue because that I was wondering if, with all the reprints, if the UK modules are going to be part of that reprint process, or if they're just going to do PDFs. If they do that, it's a different story. I was just wondering about that. I was just wondering why, if the Fiend Folio. I'm glad you brought that up.
I forgot about that. That Fiend Folio was mostly UK property anyway. So
Yeah.
I would think that
yeah.
if it was, I think that it became sole property of TSR, which in turn's now part of Wizards of the Coast. So
yeah, it was TSR UK, which was the same company, just in UK though.
right. So I would think it would be
But
the IP would fall under TSR.
But wasn't
not White
some
Dwarf.
of that from White Dwarf magazine, or am I mistaken?
No, some of those did appear in White Dwarf magazine, but probably the deal that they made to have it printed in hardback in the feed and folio, they had to give the ownership of those creatures over to TSR at the time.
Yeah.
That was the policy that TSR had when you submitted anything through their magazine or through the company was anything you submit becomes property of TSR.
Yeah.
They'll pay you, but
Right. Yeah, I could see that. I guess
that
I'm just
wasn't-
thinking of the problems they had with the Dragon magazine archive.
Right. That's not the case all the time. That's what I'm saying. You used a good example there.
Right, because there's some of the comics in the Dragon magazine archive that appeared in Dragon magazine that TSR did not have the rights to reprint in that CD. That's why that CD is so hard to find, because it was pulled.
Oh, wow.
wow.
Unless you talk to DM Will, who can get you them.
Well, some of us already have it, so.
Anyway, lastly, do you think the game assumes that you've been reading Dungeon magazine or Dragon magazine the whole time? I don't see ability checks explicitly described anywhere in the core trinity of the books that they are alluded to. I think that they were assuming people were reading the magazines alongside playing the game at the time. I don't know. What do the rest of you think?
Oh, what is he asking?
Bob, like ability score checks you're talking about?
Well, just.
It's not actually outlined in the book anywhere how to do ability checks. And it's referenced a bunch of times. And he wants to know, does it assume that you were reading Dragon magazine for updates and questions and things like that alongside playing? I would
That's
think.
I don't know.
I know. I
think we talked about something similar to this before about ability score checks and how to do them. And really we're talking about before, it's like it really depends upon the DM as long as you're consistent in how you do it.
Yeah.
You can use a D20 roll or a 3D6 roll, however you want to do it, as long as you're consistent in your game group and how you do it. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I would agree with that too.
I think it's just trying to, because it wasn't actually written out how you do them. He wants to know if maybe it was in a Dragon magazine or whether up to. I know what he's trying to get at with his question. He just didn't word it correctly.
Right, yeah. He's just wondering, was a certain amount of knowledge required going into the game, or a certain amount of keeping up with the changes of the game expected in these books? I mean, you have to remember, when these books were written, they were not released in an order that most people would think they would be.
Right. The Monster Manual came out first in 1977.
Right, and then there
the
was
Player's Handbook.
several months later.
A year later, and then a year later came the DM's Guide.
Right, so it wasn't the most well-organized effort to begin with, and considering how small the staff was back then, I could easily see them in just trying to get the product out, kind of like glossing over and be kind of living in that gaming bubble where they know everything, so they kind of think everyone else is keeping up with it as much as they do.
Yeah.
Well, I just remember when I was a kid during this time, like, the early to mid 80s, was whenever you got into a game with somebody, it's like, well, how do you run your D&D game? And that was like one of the first things you ask, because everybody had their own little spin on it,
We still ask that, Nick.
Oh yeah, but that's part of the fun. I always thought that was part of the fun. Someone always put their own kind of personal twist on it. It wasn't like all sanitized and categorized and generalized like they have it now.
Well, Advanced, remember when it first came out, that was the tournament play.
Yeah, but even then there was variants how people did AD&D too.
Right, at home, but when it was created, it was meant to standardize the play for tournaments.
For tournaments, that is true.
Right.
But at home, if you had a home game or whatever, I mean, everybody still had their own little twists on things when they played it, So, and that's what made it more like it was your game. It was very individualized in that respect.
It's like Burger King. Have it your way.
Darn right. And if I want extra tomatoes and pickles, I want it.
They're going to be haunted with Cthulhu.
Okay, fine. I'm good with that.
I know personally, back when this game was out, yeah. Back when we were playing this game back then, I know every week when I got my allowance, I always checked the store for new Dungeon magazines and Dragon magazines. I was one of those silly people that bought every one of them. Too bad I didn't keep them.
Hey, I had a subscription. Hey, preaching to the choir, bro.
Yeah, when I first started playing, I didn't read Dragon or Dungeon until much, much later. I really actually, when I started in, I really didn't even know it existed because I didn't get my books from a game store. I was getting them from like just a mass market bookstore.
Walden?
No, actually, a Little Professor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was getting my books through Little Professor, and then eventually I did move to Walden. That's actually where I started getting my Marvel superhero stuff.
Heck, I got my D&D books from Toys R Us.
I remember seeing Oriental Adventures in KB Toys in a mall in like the late 90s. Or not the late 90s, early 90s, which that means it had sat there for a while at that point.
I got most of my stuff from a game store, Star Realm, back in Omaha. But I did remember buying a Fiend Folio at Sears. Sears had some D&D stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the advantage of them getting that Random House deal. They were everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. When Random House, they got that deal with them, boy. Yeah, you could find D&D books at Sears, and I remember even looking up in the Sears Roebuck catalog, the Sears catalog. It was like, oh, wow.
Wow.
So by chance, Greg, since you are the same exact age as me and born on the very same day that I was.
Yes.
Back in the day when I was ordering my stuff, I ordered my stuff through War Games West.
Okay.
Are you familiar with them?
No, I'm not. I got my stuff from a little hobby and modeling shop that in the back corner, stuffed in the back, they had a section that had books, modules, and a Dragon magazine. And I was like, I think Vince said it, every week I'd go there and see what's new. And I would, should I get this module? Or here's a new monster book, or whatever. And that's how I got all my stuff. I did have a subscription for like a year or two to Dragon magazine in like 80, 81, 82, somewhere around there. And that was pretty cool. I would read that cover to cover as soon as it arrived.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I remember waiting with bated breath every month. It's like, did Dragon come in? I had I think a subscription for like from 83 to 89 or 90. So I had like for about 6-7 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I wish I couldn't get a subscription because my parents where they were, but I did have a wrestling subscription of WWE magazine. So.
Oh yeah, that fits in really well.
And no, I have like saying. All right, so Sage Advice, rfistaff@gmail.com. Call us 570-865-4210, the hotline. That'll conclude Sage Advice. Let's head into Table Manners.
Typical. Of all the evil creatures in the world, I had to find one with table manners.
What, are you kidding me? I spent years cultivating the worst table manners on the planet.
Table manners.
On today's Table Manners, we're going to talk about an old first edition module, C2, The Ghost Tower of Inverness. The C series of modules consisted of 6 modules. I kind of hope that we'll get to C1 someday because C1 is one of my favorites. But C2 is really no exception either. Very interesting module for those that do not know anything about it. I'm going to tell you a little history of it. It came out in 1979, which I think it was a tournament module at the time. Mm-hmm. They only had printed 300 of them. And it was for a D&D tournament at WinterCon 8. I went to one WinterCon. That was a lot. Oh, good. No, I went to 2 of them, but I can't remember what years they were. I have to go back and look at my my little ticket stub book that I have here. But so they played this module. It was a tournament module. They only did 300 of them. And then they re-released it back in 1980. Right. And that's the red-colored module, both the red and front, and actually pretty good. The artwork done by the legendary Jim Rosloff and Errol Otis, of course. Mm-hmm. And like I said, a very exceptional module. Now, I do have the White Dwarf magazine where they rated it. They thought it was a pretty good module on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being awesome. I give this module probably a 7. I'm going to give it a 7. A very good module, dangerous module.
Oh,
and dangerous module, very dangerous. Is it a killer module? Honestly,
Yeah.
It can be.
I think it's a killer module. It can be very killer.
Yeah.
Now, some of the highlights about this, I'm going to talk about some of the highlights of this module and everything. I'm not going to cover the things that the other hosts are going to talk about. Running this module, you can run it one of 2 ways. One, you can run it as a tournament module, which the red module, it is pretty much based out as a tournament module, or you can run it separately as a tournament module. So don't run it, just run it a different way. When I ran this module, I run this module multiple times, and I prefer to run it my way. If you do it the tournament way, provide the pre-generated characters and so on. There's certain parts of the module you will have to skip. Now, I don't know how much all of you all have read, this module up to date and everything. You notice that at the very beginning of the module, they'll give the player characters all this gold to buy all these magical items and everything.
Mm-hmm.
You all notice that? That's kind of interesting. I like that. Another good thing about this module, in any case, it provides visual aids. Very important as the player characters go into certain areas. There is a chessboard scene in this module. Are y'all familiar with that one too as well?
I think that's one of the best features of the game is that chessboard thing. It's really interesting and neat.
Yeah, I do too.
I thought that was just superb. And in an event like this, what I would do is I would actually have a chessboard out and put miniatures on there and then tell the players that when they fall down that tube, this is where your character lands in this square. What are y'all going to do? And of course, you tell them the rest of the story and so on.
Well, you've run this. I had a question about that scene.
Yes, please.
When they were moving, when the characters move, and it says, it's a white square if you move right, and if you do wrong, it's a red square, and you take damage.
Yes.
And that square becomes a legal move.
That is correct.
Does that mean the player can continue to move along that path the same way they just moved illegally, or do they have to go back to what they're supposed to do?
That's their new starting point, but they still have to move as the piece that they are.
Square they landed on. Yes, exactly. I love the pictures in there. I mean, if y'all want to see some funny art, the art is awesome. Now, I'm going to tell you, I really enjoy the art of this module. And the one with the chessboard scene where the one guy gets shocked.
Yeah. I had to look at it's like he's in the background there. He's getting zapped there.
It's just awesome. And the other guy says, don't move, stop. You're moving the wrong way. It's just exceptional. The art is fantastic.
I love the picture of the bugbear smacking the dude on the side of the noggin there. I love that picture, too. Yep. And the other one with the Umber Hulk.
Yes, Umber Hulk at the very beginning. Again, like I said, the artwork really made this module very fun to play because it just gives you these images in your mind saying, like, the players are going to be doing the same thing. Now, are there some issues with this module? Yes. Okay, one, this is a railroad module. If you have a problem with railroad modules, this is not the module to play. Go play Monopoly or something because you're not wanting to play this module here. It is a railroad module. It goes from point A. It's one line all the way. That's the only way you're going to succeed at doing this module. Whether you do tournament. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't think this is a railroad module. I really don't think it's a railroad module. I mean, you give them your quest and you do it or you don't. It's not really.
Well, this is what the issue is. You don't have to do the quest. True, you don't have to. You can quit playing the module and then never see the end of it. That's true. You could, but in order to get to the next portion of it, you have to go through all 4 towers to open up that door. That's railroad to me. So
you got to keep this in mind, though, because it was originally designed as a tournament adventure. Yes. It had to be designed in that linear format.
There you go.
Yeah, you got to keep people. Focus, everybody, focus. This is what we got to do. So
right now, see, that's a good thing that you brought that up because, like I said, it is a tournament module. Tournament modules are very linear. And the purpose of tournament modules is not for a group of players to finish it in the fastest time possible, but to accumulate as many points within this time period. This particular tournament module was set for 3 hours, and I will be straight up honest with you. I cannot see anyone completing this module in 3 hours.
Even tournament style, huh?
Even in tournament style, I cannot.
You'd be very hard-pressed.
Yeah.
You'd be very hard-pressed, and it makes it very specific. Now, another thing that I noticed very specific about this module is the experience group of the players. This is a module for experienced players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that, and I don't know why they really made it like that. I don't know. It's just one of those things, I guess. But then
think
again,
what I was trying to say was it's not a game for people that are running in, learning to play in hack and slash. You have to think.
Yeah, this is a thinking man's module. You got that right.
it is. And I'm going to tell you something. With now, see, that's the good part. Now, if you do the tournament module, you'll notice also that the Wandering Monster charts are not part of that tournament.
Right.
If you use this as just like an open, day module, I take it as long as you want to and everything, then you'll use the Wandering Monster thing. Then I'm gonna tell you something. These monsters, I don't know how they figured how they would fit in this place, but they figured it out.
Did you kind of like cock your head and go, huh? Isn't it like the most weird selection of monsters for a wandering monsters? I'm like, okay, white, then were-tiger, bombardier beetles, doppelganger, giant lizard, giant snake, brown bear, giant ant, stone giant, and then horned. What? Yeah. Horned? I'm like, really?
I'm wondering how much of that selection of creatures had to do with the fact that it was a tournament module and they were trying to create some sort of balance or variety.
Well, remember, the Wandering Monster Table is not used for tournament.
True, actually, yeah.
Because it just bogs down play.
It bogs down the play because you don't get points.
Right.
If you actually read the whole paragraph in the beginning,
the
Ghost Tower of Inverness, the whole thing, which is written really cool, like in old speak language, pretty much.
Yeah, it's a great introduction.
It kind of explains that the wizard was insane and he summoned all these things to his castle and his keep to guard it. So
that's why you have on the dungeon level you have gelatinous cube and a giant badger on the same Wandering Monster Table.
Well, actually, no,
that explains it.
Well, no, not with the Wandering Monster chart. It does not explain that. What they're referring to are the monsters inside the tournament module itself. Because when you look at the monsters contained within this place, it's still haphazard as can be. Because because if you take a look at the one room that has the crystal pedestal where they have the words on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's either a carnivorous ape, an ice toad, a minotaur, or an owlbear.
Yeah.
And then when you run into all the other rooms, and I'm not going to cover all the monsters in here, but I don't think we'll cover them. What are those funny flying manta ray creatures again? How do you pronounce them?
Ixixachittles. Ixixachittles. That's how it's pronounced.
Right. Well, then you have then you have the rooms with the pterodons, the flying dinosaur things.
Yep. Yeah.
And you have things. Then you have the Sioux monsters. That's why the layout of the tournament module monsters are really weird. Yeah. Now, when I say this is a killer module, this is a killer module. The Medusa in there, the fire giant, it just goes on and goes on. This is really a killer dungeon. So yes, I expect, experienced players to really play this module, whether it's the tournament version or whether you do it just open play and not use the tournament version at all whatsoever. Yeah. Basically, the whole premise is you have a group of adventurers going into this place. They get hired. They can be hired, or they may be pressed into it. They have to find this magical gem called the Soul Gem. Now, I'm not going to cover the Soul Gem. Matt will cover that in the Dragon's Hoard. I'm not going to cover anything of the cool things like the visual handouts, all that stuff, because Nick will cover that part. Yeah. And as a DM, my advice to any DM is to read this module as any module in this format from front to back, back to front. And make a decision whether it's going to be a tournament, and or whether you're going to do it the open play, and then and from there on, just this map it out from there on. Like I said, I don't say, even if you do play the tournament version, you don't even have to have the time limit on there. Just do the tournament version because all the damage is already set, if I'm correct. If you take a look and see the damage is already set in certain areas, how much, and whatever you want to do, run with it. But personally, I think DMs need to just run it as an open style, module, just like a regular module, no time limit. Now, what I will tell you is do not give them all that gold and loot and everything to buy the magical items, because that's for the tournament players.
Right. That's different. You got that. Right.
Yeah, don't use that for the regular, because have experienced people, and they do explain in the beginning on the levels. The levels can change now. If you don't want to use 5 to 7 levels, if you how many people say they can do this?
5 to 10, I think. 5 to 10 players.
5 to 10. Yeah, 6 to 10 or 5 to 10. If you have less, raise the levels maybe 1 or 2 levels so that it adjusts for the threats that you face later on, because believe me, there are some threats in here. And now, it's also possible that players will never encounter certain rooms, like the room with the gravitational issues.
Right.
Well,
that one, I'm
sorry.
sorry.
If you're running a tournament module versus the regular module, some of the rooms have different it's either bolded or put in parentheses so you can skip or use it.
Right. The tournament ones are parentheses. Yeah, you don't use them like the what is it right here? I got it right here. The illusionary ball and the crystal pedestal. Those aren't used in the tournament.
Right, exactly. Because see, those things it's gonna kill time. The same thing with the I believe the reverse gravity effect in the water level.
Right. Just at the map, it's a lot of empty rooms, which it tells you that it's that way for the tournament. And if you're running it regular, feel free to just throw whatever you want in there.
Yes, and so that's the key thing to this whole module. Great module. One of my favorites. It's in my top 25. Not in my top 10, but the C series of modules is actually the entire series. I really did like them. Yep. C1 is my favorite.
Yes, C1 is good too.
I do have some insight on this one. I ran the Hackmaster version of this.
What is that?
Yeah, there is a Hackmaster version of this. A little bit different, not that much. So if you can't find this one, you could definitely go out and find the Hackmaster version. I think there's just one little spin on this. Now, as far as tournament play, if people are thinking about running this as a tournament, like what you said, Will, that you find it hard to play this in 3 to 4 hours, absolutely true. I can't see how you could. That's just why I think this one, if you run this as a tournament, it's probably best you run it in rounds of a tournament. Like you have 2 or 3 rounds of a tournament. Like how they did it on the Hackmaster version, the first round was where you got whoever, you got as far as you could through the dungeon level and get those keys together.
Yeah.
Okay, then you accumulate scores. Then you go on to round 2, which round 2 would be your different element levels.
Yep.
And that probably is the best way to do it. Because it's going to take a long time. You probably want to do like a 2, maybe even a 3-part tournament for this one. I just couldn't see how you could do it in one either.
Yeah, I just can't see it. And like I said, and when you deal like with the Umber Hulk, I mean, you have to deal with the confusion issue. And again, this is more time.
Yeah.
There's so much time that gets, invested in all it. And then you go to the room with the chess pieces, and then it just adds more time. Mm-hmm. And the goal is as a tournament module is not to go through it the fastest. I believe I mentioned this already before, but is to try and get as far as you can, accomplishing as much as you can in rooms and accumulating points. And there's a point system here that tells you how many points you'll get to do what. And I believe that's toward the back as well, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Oh, yeah. There it is, right there in the back on the time record, which is really good. I mean, it's kind of accurate. I had to study it again, but it's been a long time since I've seen the tournament version and looked at it from a tournament point of view. I will only run this from an open gameplay style because, this is good for a tournament if you want to run a tournament at a convention. But then again, I think it defeats the purpose of running it because people can download it, they can find it. People probably already know it. So,
well, hopefully they wouldn't use that knowledge against it. That would be metagaming.
Of course, and you know how that goes and so on. But like I said, the highlights of this module is the handouts. The artwork is just the artwork is superb.
Yeah.
But this is your classic first edition AD&D module with box text. I like box text, and sorry,
our one distractor there.
Actually, the box text in this are pretty lame to begin with.
But that's not too bad.
It's not bad, but they did it for a tournament point of view. They don't want to spend too much time reading, and that was the whole point of it until you get to the later levels. And that's the whole point. The less the DM reads, the more time that players have to act and do what they got to do. Like I said, this is one of the classics. It's one of my favorites. I have never seen anything negative being written about it. White Dwarf Magazine talks about it. They gave it a good rating. It's a good module. It is a killer module. With those monsters, they will wipe a party out in a heartbeat. I like it, and I will never speak ill of it.
Yeah, and it is definitely a thinking player's module. Yeah, like I said, if you just kind of add on what you said and to reiterate to everybody, if you're thinking of doing a tournament, you got like a 2 or 3 day convention that you want to, sign up for, and you want to DM and you want to run a tournament. You could do it with this one, but you would have to split basically the module in half. Part 1 of your tournament is the dungeon level, and part 2 are the 4 element levels.
The tower itself.
The actual tower itself. If you split up in those 2 different halves, I think it could be done, because we did it with the Hackmaster version 1, and it worked great. So yeah, but as a one all together in one 4-hour session at a convention, no way. Couldn't do it.
It'd be very hard to do.
Now, I meant to mention one more thing since we're talking about the historical aspect of this. The RPGA had a return to the Ghost Tower in Inverness.
I thought
there.
If anyone can please find that, please. I'd really like to get my hands on that particular.
There was a return to the Ghost Tower, like on the other ones?
Yes, it was.
Return to the Keep of Borderlands and all that?
Well, it said in 2003, the RPGA Living Greyhawk campaign released the adventure.
Oh, okay. So 3rd edition.
If we can find that, I really would like to find that. I have never seen it. I would really like to get that. And I provided a link to you all. If you all can see that link there, to this right here. On Wizards of the Coast website, they had a very nice review of the C2, the 1st edition Ghost Tower of Inverness. It's actually a really good write-up. Well done.
Awesome.
Cool.
Greg, did you run this module? Have you ever played through this since you do 1st edition?
Yeah, this was one that I had as a kid, and I just really liked it back then. And I can remember running my players through it, because I was a DM a lot back then, more than a player. And we always had a great time with it. The chess room is awesome. And I like the fact, something I was going to mention earlier, I like the fact that in order to find each of the 4 parts of the key, you've got to go down each of the tower staircases, and you really have to traipse through every room, almost every room in this dungeon, to get all 4 of those keys to open that center room to let you into the Tower of Inverness. And I didn't realize that until I reread it again last night. I forgot about that fact, and I thought that's really cool.
Yeah, it is. It really makes their work cut out for them.
Yeah, and this can be a killer dungeon, that's for sure. But it takes more wits than dice rolling, which I like. I like modules that have a good amount of both. Good combats, but also use your brain. Don't just hack and slash through everything. Use your brain, get around traps, figure stuff out.
And if you're looking for an adventure that as far as dungeon ecology, you're looking in the wrong place, folks. This is one of those adventures where I guess the moniker's been termed for I guess this one and White Plume Mountain, maybe Tomb of Horrors to a lesser degree. It's what they call a funhouse dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of got a little bits of everything in there, almost including the kitchen sink. But that's what makes it really cool, because this was a tower that was owned by some crazy mad wizard. Well, you expect some crazy mad wizard kind of stuff around. Mm-hmm. So it's not supposed to make any sense. And that's what keeps the players on their toes. They don't know what's going to be behind that next door. They don't know what's going to be around that next corner. And the paranoia factor normally for players is pretty much, it goes up a few notches in this one. Goes up to 11. So that's why I like it. I like it because it is so unpredictable. That's why you gotta think.
I'm looking for the author of this particular module, Alan Hammock.
Yeah.
It looks like he is part of the BoardGameGeeks.com board, so at least he is he's active in the community, I guess.
Well, very cool.
Yeah, maybe we could talk to him and find out if we can get a copy of that return, because that would be awesome if we can find that.
Yeah, I was trying to go through Wizard's site to see if, because they had for a while, they had a lot of free module downloads. I was trying to see if it was on the list, and I didn't see it there.
Man, if there's anyone out there in the gaming community that can provide us this return to the Ghost Tower of Inverness, I'd really like to get that.
Cool. All right, well, let's head into our next segment then.
You think I'm mad? Perhaps I am.
What are you, a wizard, a genius?
Darn. A perfectly good brain wasted.
Game mechanics.
Okay, everybody, let's continue on with game mechanics with our theme today for Dungeon Module C2, Ghost Tower Inverness. And what we're going to talk about here is the visual handouts there with the adventure, and I guess also maybe a further discussion about visual handouts in general. In this particular adventure, you have 6 visual aids for the adventurers. One on the there's a room with the bunch of bugbears in stasis. You got the one for the chess room, the little chess piece here, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
You got another visual aid. It shows a depiction of the key to finally get into the elemental layers, and you have also the elemental layers of the ghost tower. And surprisingly enough, I don't see a Earth level handout one. They don't have one for the Earth level. At least I don't have it in mind.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It is going to be on the.
Oh, you know why there isn't one for the Earth level? Because you can't see around every corner because the hedge.
Right.
You can't really see around.
It's on the back, though.
That's the DM one. I remember why they don't have one for the players because.
Oh, that's right. Yes, because of the
it's
hedge.
The nature of that level. Yeah, all that vegetation you can't see around.
Oh, the handout you mean, but the Earth level. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you don't have one for the Earth level because of all that vegetation, but you have one for the last level, which trying to get a hold of the soul gem. But these handouts are really good for the time what they are. One of the things I was thinking about, if you're going to be running this today in the 21st century, 2012, is what you could do is, because of our access to technology, where you can use for your own players, for your own experience, what I would do is I would scan these visual aids, make them maybe a little bit bigger, big enough to put miniatures on. So like the sarcophagus level or the visual aid, particularly for the chess level, if you want to do it that way. Or you could just grab a chessboard and use that as your visual aid for the chess level. Or for the other one with the bugbears, expand that out in whatever program that you might have on your computer after you scan that page in, and when you print it out, it's big enough just for your miniature. So something, just another added visual dimension for your players to enjoy the adventure. And I guess you could do that if you wanted to with the other visual aids for the different elemental layers if you wanted. So that was just one way I thought you could maybe enhance the experience for your players if you have ways and means to do that. Just somehow just make the image big enough to where you can put miniatures on. Print it out. It'll probably be on several sheets of paper, but just do a fast draft printing. And use some inexpensive paper, or go to Kinko's, however you want to do it. And don't worry, you're not breaking copyright because you're using it for your own purposes. So,
well, you have a physical book; they're not going to complain.
Well, that of course. Well, as long as you have the physical book, you're good to go, and because you're only using it for yourself. And you could probably do that with some of the other stuff in here too. If you wanted to take some visual images and add them more, if you so desire, you could do that too. Why not? I mean, I could see one way you could do, like they have a picture of the key on page 7. You could probably take that image, maybe scan that, copy that image, and print it out for your players. So here's another picture of the key if you want another view of it, something like that. So that's just other ways of doing it. We talked about in a show a while back about using visual aids and props for your game and how it could enhance it and some of the pluses and minuses of it. And I think for this particular game, I like using visual aids and props in my games if I could do it. I don't like to overdo it too much, but just enough, maybe like a map to hand out, a picture or something. And that's like when this whole C series came out, like the first one, Hidden Shrine of Tomoe-chan, then Ghost Tower, and so on. A lot of them had some really good visual aids for the players. The reason being is because they were originally for tournaments. They're the C series, the competition series of modules. It helps the players visualize more instead of giving some incredible description that could take a long time. Here's a picture of what you're seeing, and that cuts down on time when you're doing a tournament, and it just helps maybe the players maybe plan things out better. You're not repeating yourself, and they'll say, well, what was that you said again about this particular part, or what was it about this area here? It's all right there. There's no questions about it. There's no ambiguities. So I think it does enhance the play. It makes it easier in a lot of ways, but you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to overload them with a whole bunch of stuff. Just some key areas where you think that maybe a little bit of detail is needed, and you can have a visual aid ready for your players. And I think it works really great with this module, especially when you kind of think of ways you can tinker with it. Like printing out those particular areas a little bit bigger, and you can actually use them as a battle mat for your players to use. Or like the chess level. If you don't want to print it out, why not just use a regular chessboard or a checkerboard? Do it that way too. And that just adds a little bit more fun to the whole adventure experience. So that's my 2 coppers on it. What do you think, Vince?
I think handouts are great, and I like your idea of the chessboard. Like Will even said that he used the chessboard.
Yeah.
But I actually like your idea of going to Kinko's or wherever, your own copy machine if you have a scanner on your printer, and making these visual aids big enough, or actually grab the battle mats that they sell with the dry erase marker.
Sure, you could do that too.
And just draw it out for the players if you're really that artistic enough to do it, or have the patience, I say.
Yeah.
I kind of like it.
I remember one that we did for a Hackmaster game. It was just a few years back. It was a tournament one, and they actually put they had the thing printed out big enough that we could put minis on it. This is where we were on the map, and we're looking at it, and we're like, wait a minute. This looks like a pinball machine. We're inside a pinball machine. Ah!
Well, what's that?
That was really scary.
Matt,
yeah.
What's that paper that they just came up with at Gen Con last year?
Oh, it's that gaming paper. Yes, so basically you can buy yourself a giant roll of graph paper.
Ooh.
Just rip it and design it, and then when you get to the game, lay them out as you need them.
Right.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, that's something I would totally do. I mean, I have plenty of game mats.
Paper with the grid on it?
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. It's basically take wrapping paper that size of a roll.
Yeah.
And it's basically like wrapping paper, except it's all grid.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe that the game paper that they sell it here, it is a 5-foot by 2-foot section. That's how long the roll is.
Nice.
Okay. When you put it all completely out, it might be a little longer than that. It might be a little wider than that. But once you write on it, you can't use it again. So you might want to bring some plexiglass so you can write on top of it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Okay, that's a good idea too.
Or if you plan on reusing certain settings a lot, you could just draw those out and pull them out of the closet. Say, like with this module, if you were to recreate the aids, you recreate them on the gaming paper and then just toss it in your module.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
.com of the gaming paper. Greg, tell me about this thing.
Well, I'm looking at the website now, and I see you can get hexes and squares,
Yeah.
You can get it in, I think, 8.5 by 11 sheets, and then on the rolls. And the rolls are, of course, where you're going to save a lot of money for the amount of paper you get. And there's a lot of ways you can use this stuff. I like the idea of bringing like a piece of plexiglass or something. That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's a really good idea.
Yeah.
The only issue with that now, just remember now that each square, I believe that each square in here, each square equals 10 feet.
Right.
So when you look at how long this thing, it's 130 feet, maybe it's 150 feet. It depends on which room you're in. So just take that into scale too as well.
Right.
Wrapping paper, Nick. But I noticed there's some modules on here that looks like maybe that's 4th edition modules. I'm not sure. I don't know. Slayers of the Sinking Garden, never heard of it, but they have them set up for certain games here, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
They have Adventure Maps Mega Dungeon 1, which is pretty much a generic dungeon, it looks like.
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting product.
Oh, yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
30 square foot of playing surface. Wow. Yeah, I might want to order some of this stuff.
Yeah, this stuff is really not that bad and everything. And if you take a look, the hexes, of course, are for your, like BattleTech and stuff like that, or whatever.
Or
outside adventures.
Yeah, your overland adventure.
Yep.
Yeah. What do you think, Matt, about the handouts?
I would be more likely to recreate the handouts in a home game than actually give the players handouts. When I run modules, I don't like my players knowing I'm running a module.
Oh, okay.
So
that's a good point.
So if I were to run this, I would have all my notes and transfer them onto like regular paper. So that way it just looks like it's something I created. And yeah, maybe a more experienced player would be able to figure out, hey, I'm doing this. I'm using this particular module, but most likely they probably won't. In a tournament setting, absolutely you have to I would use the handouts as designed. But for a home game, I'm going to be using like battle mats and miniatures and recreate everything on the handouts, but not actually use the handouts themselves. And my copy of C2 I actually bought used, so all the handouts were already torn out. And now they're just stuffed in loose leaf style. At which point I'm so afraid of like losing them. At this point, like, oh no, this one slipped out and I need it for my game now. What am I going to do? So I prefer leaving my modules intact as well. But I like the handouts. It really is a lot easier to show your players the things in question, particularly when it comes to the grid, because having that the chess room. Because they're far more likely to figure out, hey, we need to move like chess pieces if they're looking from a top-down perspective than they are you just trying to describe what they see. Same with the bugbears. When they have that top-down view, it gives them a little different perspective that your description isn't going to give them. But I prefer creating those with like 3D objects and miniatures, and fortunately with my gaming group, we have lots of those.
Okay. Cool.
Yep.
Anybody else got anything on this? I don't know. I think we kind of covered it top to bottom there. So now just let us know what you think out there. You can call us on our hotline, 570-865-4210. Or you can email us at rfistaff@gmail.com.
Nick, we're going to send you a cookie in the mail.
I'd rather have 100 experience points.
All right, how about 5?
Okay, 50 experience points.
Now you're getting none.
Oh, okay, I'll take the cookie.
Okay.
So, okay, I guess then on that high note, we'll move on to our next segment.
The Dragon's Horde.
And now we're going to the Dragon's Horde, and we're going to talk about the magical item that the players are trying to retrieve.
The great MacGuffin.
Yes, the great lethal MacGuffin, the Soul Gem. Not to be confused with Marvel's Soul Gem that's on the Infinity Gauntlet.
Right.
Yeah, true. Very true.
Yes.
And not to be confused with the dance show Soul Train.
No. Definitely not a part of the Soul Train. The Soul Train is not powered by the Soul Gem.
Exactly.
Even though it can light up a room, this is a gem whose light you do not want to be in the path of.
Yeah.
Oh no.
No. Because when the players enter the final room with the soul gem, the gem is shining light into an eighth of the room at any given point. The room's a circular room, so basically the room's been divided up into 8 slices, if you will, and the light shines from a gem at random into any one of those quadrants, or actually whatever 8 quadrants would be. What happens to any characters caught within the light, they must make a save versus petrification. If they make the save, them and all their possessions turn a nice ghostly white. And all their magic items, except for the Amulet of Recall, which is in the module as well, cease to be magical.
I know. Oh.
Yeah, so if you have a glut of magic items in your game you wishing weren't there, this gem can help you with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, however, though, if they fail that save, it gets a little worse. Yeah, they still go ghostly white. All their stuff loses its magical ability. However, upon failing that save, they also lose their soul. And the soul gets pulled into the soul gem because it collects souls. And what the players need to do, they need to only do 20 hit points of damage to render this soul gem inoperable so they can actually take it back and retrieve the MacGuffin. The problem with that is magic spells do not affect it. It has to be done with hand weapons.
Yeah, you have to physically attack it. You got to break through that.
Right.
There's a sphere around it.
Right.
Yeah, it's like a force field or something like that. It has 20 points.
Yes, you must break through that as it's randomly popping this light into the different zones of the room. And at which point, your players are probably going to die, unless they're really lucky with their petrification rolls. And all that magic stuff they got at the beginning of the game, if you followed the tournament module rules, they're not going to be magical after this.
No. And it gets better.
Yes. It gets better. Should they break it? Well, actually, first, as they're doing damage to the gem, for every damage they deal to the gem, they take the same amount of damage.
Yeah.
If, when you deal that final blow and shatter the gem, say it only had 1 hit point left, and you deal 10, you're taking 10.
Yep.
It's what you dealt, not what it took. And then, once it's destroyed, if the players can then grab it. But the gem, it can be destroyed if you have a magical weapon too. And you roll a natural 20, you can destroy the gem that way. But if you do it that way, it shatters, releasing all the souls. And all the souls are going to kill you.
Yes. And the text specifically saying the gem will shatter and release the millions.
Yes, the millions
of souls trapped inside. It will instantly slay all living creatures in the tower.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is just the nasty, nasty magic item. Yeah, this is something that the players will have to be seeking out because most of them probably won't actually make it afterwards. And the Amulet of Recall is actually kind of almost necessary in some ways because once you shatter it and the millions of souls come, this is expecting you to use that Amulet of Recall immediately to flee the millions of released souls.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can actually see using this and spawning several adventures from it. First, you run the module. They get the soul gem. They shatter it. Now they have millions of souls to deal with. That's your next story. How are you going to capture these millions of souls? Is there an AD&D equivalent of the Ghostbusters handy? So,
and some of these souls are probably souls that you didn't want let out. Because some of them might be really nasty evil, too.
Right.
Cats and dogs living together.
Yeah, I mean...
Mass hysteria.
Right. I mean, there could be good souls, there could be bad souls, or maybe the souls end up doing combat with each other. So many different stories can be told with the release of this. So, It's something I could see using, but a lot of thought in another game other than this module. But you're going to need to put a little thought into all the ramifications of it, because it's probably going to kill your players. At best, it's just going to destroy all their magic items.
Right.
So use it kind of judiciously. So what does
Definitely.
everyone else think of it?
It's nasty, but just straight up, yeah, it's nasty. And I just love the idea of like all your stuff, including yourself, turning white. Apparently, someone watched Galactica 1980.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing I could think of. Just like, if anybody knows that show, how it just well.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, all your whole uniform, everything turned white. I don't know why. Just thought of that.
Yeah, I think it's a great item for this adventure. You know, as the main goal. I think it'd be hard to use in another setting, but as you said, it would have to be used judiciously. You'd have to think it through, the ramifications or what are going to happen. I don't think it would go over too well with everybody. You'd have to have some very powerful players using it, but it would be very interesting.
Well, the one thing that the module notes at the end is that your party member is going to be brought back.
Yeah, that is true. True.
Seer knows how to use the soul gem, and he will bring them back if necessary. So it's not like you're completely gone.
So that would be a reason why you would want to destroy it.
Right.
You would want to bring it back, and if anybody's soul got sucked into it, he can bring it back.
Right.
Exactly.
Unless you were trying to damage it with a magical weapon and accidentally shattered it.
Oh, well.
Like I said, I call this a killer module for a reason. And, I mean, it is rough. I just love the box text that describes to the players what happens to them when they fail their saving throw, when the beam of light hits them.
Mm-hmm.
You know how they scream horribly and they see a long, drawn-out wailing scream, and it just goes on. And then I said, like, I like that. That's an awesome character death.
Yeah.
I got killed by a gem this weekend. Well, how about you?
Yeah. As your vision clears, an image of the character, pale and ghostly, streams out of the body and toward the soul gem, getting smaller the nearer it gets to it. Wow.
Oh,
I think I would rather deal with the Demi-Lich in S1.
yeah.
Oh, no kidding.
You could. Yeah, you could even, if, say, the entire party got sucked into the soul gem, run an adventure inside the soul gem.
Ooh. It's like purgatory in there.
Right.
Yeah. Ooh.
That would be interesting. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Right.
I wonder if your soul was stuck in the soul gem. That's the end of your character. What if your character has a wish spell? Or what if one of your teammates has a wish spell? Would the wish spell pull the soul back out?
Yeah, I guess so. It could.
Yeah.
I can't see why not.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would agree with a wish. A
Yeah.
wish would do fine. A limited wish, probably not. This is an artifact. This is an artifact that this is a very powerful item.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I can already see the great GM Joe screwing us over with this too. Especially with a wish too. What's that? You didn't word that? Oh, the soul comes out and goes back in. You didn't say permanently in your words. He did do stuff like that to us.
That's just me.
Right. Or if a few party members were to be sucked in and you use that wish spell to bring them back, who says their soul goes back in their own body?
Let's work correctly.
Oh, that's just, oh my gosh, that's just evil.
That's funny.
Friend did tag along on when they come out too.
Right.
Now, since we're on the subject of this great and historical module, take a close look at the credits down there. Look at the playtesters.
Playtest. Mike Carr.
Page 16.
Yeah, Helen Cook, Harold Johnson.
Errol Lotus, Gene Wells.
Wow.
And Lawrence Schick. Ain't that amazing to see all of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Now, they said they got some Jeff D. art there and LaForce, and they got Willingham and Sullivan on there, too. But I don't see their initials on these pieces of artwork. I can't tell who did what.
Maybe some of the player
I
aids?
see it. Okay.
Sutherland generally was the cartographer of the company.
Oh, okay.
He did some artwork, but he was like really known for his cartography work.
Also, Frank Mincer had some development hands in this.
Yes. Thanks, Frank.
Yeah, thanks, Frank, for killing us.
Yeah, Frankie. Still a killer dungeon there, Frankie.
Okay, cool. I guess we're heading to the creature feature next.
Feature theater.
The creature feature theater this week is going to focus on the monster in the back of the module that actually appeared in Monster Manual 2 with the same exact description. And who's the artist for this one? Is that it? Jeff D. Art? I don't really can't
Looks
tell.
like D and Otis.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, Otis is the one in the lower right. Definitely that's Errol Otis' stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because it has an EO on the top.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Anyway, the fire bat is one of the rare creatures in here, and it's pretty nasty, this creature, if you read about it. It looks like a simple bat that comes from the fire elemental plane, which usually happens when you summon a fire elemental. These little buggers come flying in as well, and you don't notice it somehow. And they can reproduce at this, the drop of a hat, practically. But the nasty thing about these creatures is that they tag team against you. So if you send in, say, like 20 of these bats, and there's 5 of you in the party, 4 bats team up out of the group. They form little groups equal to the party members and just attack. And when they attack, I don't mean by, swoop, attack. They swoop, they attack, they latch themselves onto you and start sucking the life out of you.
Yeah.
So they either fill themselves up in 3 rounds or you die.
Yeah, they suck your blood, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
They do 2d4 points of damage each round. And they don't have to roll attacks anymore. It's just 2d4 points of damage once they latch onto you. So you're supposed to get them off of you when they're latched onto you. Otherwise, they will kill you. After they're done filling themselves in 3 rounds, they do latch off and they go back to their lair, which you could chase them back there and confront them, but they will fight to the death with the same method. Now, you guys have any alternate ways to use this creature other than what was listed in here?
Well, I would think this would be one of those creatures if you were maybe going... I would throw this probably like in against the giants when you're up against the fire giants. I think you would find these little buggers in the fire giants' lair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any area where there's fire, they'd be appropriate.
Yeah.
Maybe even in the fire node and Temple of Elemental Evil.
Mm-hmm.
They can fly through lava or magma without a problem. You douse them with water. It takes 10 gallons of water to put the flames out.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah. And but they can't fly, but they can still do 1d4 points of damage against you if they're successfully attacking you.
Guess you need a decanter of endless water for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, see, the funny thing about it is, though, Vince,
Yeah.
when they're on you, they're attacking you. What are those things called? The mosquito-like ones?
Sturges?
Sturges.
Yeah.
Yes. You see, the thing is, the damage that you're taking is actually fire damage. You saw that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they all radiate like several hundred degrees of heat from their bodies.
Yeah, it's a burning effect on the victim, but
I don't like that. Yeah, I don't like these guys. Let's go to the North Pole because no, I don't like fire.
That's a nasty opponent, that's for sure.
Fire, bad.
Well, see, my question is, let's say that it attacked a player character that was wearing plate mail armor, and you had 4 of these on him. You figure that if you got 4 of them all radiating this damage on him, by the time they leave or get killed or whatever, the armor's not cool.
No,
you could rule as a DM say that he's getting extra burn damage because of his armor being on fire. Well,
he's
going to be a charcoal briquette.
Yeah, he's getting cooked inside of his own plate mail armor.
I better stop saying things because this thing is killer enough as it is.
Another thing to add is this can detect invisible opponents as well due to advanced sonar.
That adds even another nasty dimension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't see me. Oh, yes, they can.
They have true flight, so they don't actually swoop or fly in a sense. They just have true flight, so they're different from regular bats.
Right. But there's also one saving grace for the player. All they have to do is kill 20 if only 25% or less of your starting group is still alive, the rest will flee.
Oh, okay.
So if 20 are coming at you, if you kill 15 of them, you don't have to worry about the other 5.
Yeah. Okay.
So they do flee once their numbers get thinned, but yeah, they're just really, really nasty.
And what's really what's really bad about this whole thing is that room that they're in, that's with the fire plane room.
Yeah.
Plane of fire room or whatever you want to call it. When you're dealing with these guys, you're also dealing with the fire giant and they're throwing boulders.
Right.
Yes. So
Again,
what is the
this is a killer module.
That's why exactly.
I just can't say we're fighting bats, but there's a guy down there throwing giant boulders at you. They're like, oh my goodness.
All these bats are like, I'm on fire! Ah!
It also says when the bats die, a burst of flame envelops them and sucks them back to the elemental plane of fire. So when you kill one, would you have them do a little bit of parting damage to a player, say they were attached to?
Yes.
Yeah, if they were attached, definitely.
I do like a D4, D4.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good.
Definitely. I have no problem with that. If they explode, that sudden burst of heat hits.
Yeah, exactly. Hits you and goes.
Yeah.
And you
I'd
did.
say like an additional D4 damage would be good.
Right, and if you have 3 or 4 of them on you, that's 4d4 of damage you'll be taking if you're able to kill them all.
Right.
So everything in this module is pretty much nasty.
But so much fun. At least on the DM side.
Yeah, we never talked about the Medusa. We didn't talk about all the other monsters in here. I mean, it is, there's a lot of nasty monsters. And we didn't even really talk about the water level. And that's not cool because that whole water level is affected by that reverse gravity area.
Yeah. You know what I was thinking of is when you get sucked into that reverse gravity thing from the fire to the water, I was thinking about that scene in Time Bandits where they get sucked in and they're like falling up into the water.
Yep.
Right.
Time to the time of a legend.
Oh,
now that I look on the back of the module, that picture done by Jeff D. There's that one guy. He's like up in the air. It's like, oh, he got sucked into the reverse gravity. Bye bye. I think that's now that awesome picture makes sense.
So a DM ruling here. That room with the bugbears, right?
Yes.
When they're there frozen, you walk into the room and you eventually start. For every people in the room, it's 4 of them.
Yes.
What about it says if you enter the room and you leave the room, they'll still come alive, right?
Mm-hmm.
The rules. Now, what if you leave the room from the other side? Are they still going to come alive?
I think every time you pass through one of those openings, the plane of that opening, 4 more come alive, whether you're going in or whether you're going out. That's the way I read it.
That's how I read it too.
So nowhere else, then, right?
I don't think so.
So, like teleporting, you'll be fine, or like dimension door, you'll be fine.
But levitating, you'd still break the plane, and they would come alive. Yeah.
I wonder if you went ethereal. I guess going ethereal, will you be okay too? I suppose.
Yeah, seems that you would.
Sure, I wasn't sure. That's why I was questioning different ways because of players figuring it out. They probably wouldn't figure it out at first, but
yeah, well, it's the same thing with the chess room. That if you attempt to fly, climb, or teleport, you still get affected by the negative consequences of moving incorrectly in that room, regardless.
Yeah, as soon as you land somewhere in that room, you're going to get zapped.
Because you're going to be in the wrong space, most likely.
And if you fly... go ahead.
I across that room, but when you come back through is when you get the negative adjustments, because you got to come back.
Right, that's what I meant. Once you land in somewhere else in that room, if you do, like using a fly spell or levitate.
Yeah.
If you don't land in an area which would be considered a correct move, you're going to get zapped.
Like that little zap picture.
Oh, that's an awesome picture. That guy getting zapped in the background. It's just awesome.
Yeah.
Guys, if you put the visual aid down, how would you guys portray that to the players? That they can only move a certain way. Would you tell them this is a chessboard, you're a rook, you're a queen, whatever, or would you let them?
I would have them figure it out.
Oh yeah, definitely have them figure it out.
Oh yeah, I just want to see what you would do as a DM to have them figure it out. and I was
make sure that all the players that you have do not know how to play chess.
Oh, wow.
That's going to be hard to find.
But, so, Nick, how would you handle that if I was the player and I was stepping on there and I would say with the knight?
Yeah.
And
I would.
Forward. You tell me, okay, you move forward, you're fine. Do you allude to them that you can keep moving forward, or?
I'd say, okay, you move. How far are you moving? Where are you moving? And as soon as you you move your miniature to an area that's, would be an incorrect move, I would say stop. Mm-hmm. I'd roll the damage, and it's like, oh, okay, you stop. As soon as you go in this square right here, it turns red, and you take blah 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 damage, and it turns white.
Mm-hmm. Well, Skype seems to be going on conniption fit time now.
Yeah.
Which is a thing, because we are at the end of the show.
Okay.
Uh-huh. And you can go to our website, rfipodcast.com, read up on the show notes that Matt puts up there, and look at the little neat graphic he puts up there all the time for us to view. Call us.
I would like to hear some really cool stories of some people who ran this module.
Yes.
I would love to hear that.
Robot Nick.
I know. It's like everybody's going out. Okay, whatever.
rfistaff@gmail.com, 570-865-4210, the hotline. Unseenservant.us. Am I getting that right, Greg?
That's correct, yes.
Is the play-by-post forums where you can join up and maybe have your own game hosted there. They do have some RPG chat going on, so you don't have to just play. You can go there just to chat along. That's about it. I guess we're going to say goodbye and maybe start a forum topic about this, Nick.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking of doing. I'll start a forum topic on this one if before or after we do the post the episode.
Wait till we post the episode, then we'll post up a forum topic.
I will personally do that. I'll start.
What's the forum topic going to be on again?
The Ghost Tower of Inverness. I want to hear people can write up their stories about it.
Yeah.
Okay, good to go then. And what I'll do is I'll do a review on it. It's in the list of things that I need to do reviews on because the UK series is what I'm working on now.
Okay. Right. Cool.
All right, well, keep it original, keep it old school, and good night, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Go ahead, Greg. You can say bye.
Okay, bye, everybody.
See y'all later.
Roll for initiative.
And keep your fire bats with blunt weapons. No, I'm kidding.
Hey!
And pigs have orc faces. Yes. No, orcs have pig faces.
Pigs have orc faces. I like that. That's good. Go with that.
I said it wrong.